Hello and welcome to another League of Legends video and the first top junglers of Season 9. It has been almost exactly a year since my first ever top junglers episode, and with the next patch being 9.1, I figured it was a good time to group all the best junglers that you can use to practice in this preseason and prepare you for your Season 9 placements. Now there will be changes coming up in 9.1 and 9.2 with junglers, specifically things like Sejuani and other changes that will happen, so do pay attention to the patch notes. It might affect the rankings of how some of these junglers are placed in this video, but the overall list will remain solid for the beginning part of Season 9, so you should be able to find success with any of the junglers on this list. Now this is not a cut and dry tier list, as I have to say in every one of these videos, merely a collection of the best performing junglers in solo queue at the moment. So if your favorite cheese pick or niche pick or something that you play that not a lot of other people play is working for you, keep on going. But just like my Zyra jungle, that's specific to you and not general. And if you're having trouble finding junglers to play and win with, hopefully some from this list can inspire you to pick them up and grab yourself some wins. And with that out of the way, we're gonna head into the first page with the top 6 junglers, which are definitely capped off by Kha'Zix and Jax. Kha'Zix never seems to leave the meta for too long before coming back strong. A lot of changes around him and directly to him in the past couple of months have led to a bit of a resurgence. Yes, he is decently difficult to pick up and sort of maximize his particular core strengths, but at the same time, he's probably one of the best all-rounders at the moment. He's having good success in the mid and high MMRs, and remember, as experience is gained by the player base playing champions over time, so shall increase their proficiency, which is I guess what's happening here. Kha'Zix is so popular and so strong when you have capable hands. His insane damage, ability to snowball the resets, as long as you can position well, as I've always said about assassins, you should be able to find success with him. Now, despite what certain howler monkeys would like to say on Twitter, Jax is in a very strong spot both in top and in jungle. He is finding more success in low and mid MMRs, of course, and he was the subject of one of my gameplay reviews just last week. Strong dueling capability, great ganks, solid clear, ability to solo monsters very quickly when you get the Blood Razor if you're going a more DPS build, has a Juggernaut option if you really do need to be defensive. But all in all, his kit is well-rounded, it's safe, it's easy to use, definitely a great pickup if you're looking to grab wins. Now, we're not going to review every single jungler individually. Needless to say, Xin is still a very fine pick, strong early game pressure, good farming, he can invade, he has strong scuttle crab control. As long as you know how to really snowball that lead, you're going to find success with him. Just remember, pressure, pressure, pressure on the lanes, on the enemy jungle, on objectives, on towers, don't let up. And even though we don't have that many raw, strong AP junglers, Evelyn is still queen of that particular group. Insanely powerful post-level 6, decent ganks pre-level 6 as long as you have the right angle of attack. And basically, with Electrocute, you're 100% guaranteed at some point to one-shot someone even without your ultimate. And I did release very recently a Season 9 Total Evelyn guide, so if you're looking to master her, I'll put that link in the description or in the top right. We just covered a Shaco game in my Gameplay Monday. He is again still a very unique champion with a specific player base that mains him and inflates his win rate a little bit, but at the same time, if you can spend the time to learn that playstyle, it is finding a lot of success as it has been for the past few months, but as usual, he flies under the radar a little bit. Now, some would debate if you should put Graves on the front page of a video like this at this stage, but I do because he is still very strong. His win rate has decreased since his meme nerfs, but percentage-wise did affect him quite heavily. Dark Harvest got changed and then gutted completely, but he still has fleet footwork to fall back on, and with his same sort of playstyle, strong carry potential, strong objective control, he is a great all-rounder and the best marksman jungler. And now with the core 6 out of the way, those are probably your best bet in terms of accessible carry potential, save for Shaco. We now move on to more different picks, unique picks, different playstyles. And we'll start this off with Rengar. He's not easy to master by any stretch of the imagination. He is much more successful on high elo. However, the time put in to master this particular champion can really help you climb if you understand the game state as well as matchups, because he exploits so many weaknesses against enemy junglers, and a strong early game can basically spell doom for the enemy team as long as you know how to close it out. Now, Kayn is on this page purely because I think he's in such a great state, more so Rast than Shadow Assassin, but with the passive changes that are going to be coming up sometime early next year, that quality of life buff, or basically straight buff, should really make his win rate go up as you have more control over which form you want to take. Shadow Assassin is still very fun, but you run the risk of being CC'd and killed, burst down. Rast is just basically good into everything and anything at this point. You can run Electrocute for the early game damage and the skirmishing ability. You can also run Conqueror if you're hard set on going Rast in a particular game. Once you get your form, you become a very strong champion that can really control team fights and the game. Your map scaling and everything about him is super fun and definitely very powerful. Now the next one I want to talk about is Elise. She's seeing a bit of a spike in her win rate and her uses with the changes around her in the jungle in terms of nerfs, electrocute changes, dark harvest changes. She's filling a nice AP niche, and while difficult to play, difficult to master given that she has 6 abilities basically, I would recommend spending a bit of time learning her before you take her into ranked. Make sure you can be fluid with your form changes and combos. Udyr is still here not because he's necessarily a great champion, but because his win rate is still quite high, and clearly he sees effectiveness in the lower to mid MMRs. I wouldn't necessarily rank him above any of the other champions that I've mentioned so far, but if he's something that suits a very hyperactive, split pushing, objective focused playstyle, then he might be for you, but I still think there are better options around. Rammus is still once again by far the best tank in solo queue. Great into all AD comps, still great into mixed comps. Your ganks are fast, and the amount of pressure you can exert with that speed and taunt is very high. And if your target selection and picks and teamfights is exquisite, you will force that player to have to go QSS, and if they don't, it's basically a free kill for your team. And now this is where things get a little bit subjective because you're entering the phase of, well, what do you really want to play if you don't want to play sort of the top 12 or so champions? Master Yi has a high usage rate, his win rate is decent, and he can become very obscene and tilting to face against when he's very fed because it can seem like there's nothing you can possibly do to him if you don't have the team comp to face him. And yes, his medium difficulty because there is a very distinct difference between a seasoned high elo Master Yi player and someone who's just picking him up in silver or gold. And so I would advise, if you like an easy to pick up champion that can really snowball, to look at some of those players and really learn from them because he can be very strong when played well. Now Camille has been sort of the top tier jungle pick in high MMRs for a long time, so that attack speed nerf did affect her win rate, especially in lower MMRs where the clears became less forgiving. She still has insane scuttle control, strong level 2 ganks, a lot of pressure, but she is not as strong as she used to be. Keep in mind there may be some buffs coming at her or some changes, so she's good to learn, she's good to have in your rotation, and she will definitely reward time spent learning. However, I think in this case you're probably better off learning something a bit more accessible that can carry you throughout a range of MMRs rather than such a high skill cap champion that isn't even seeing the best success in Challenger Master Tier at the moment anyway. And now the next 4 champions all have different playstyles completely. If you're in the low MMRs and you're looking for a nice tank for the teamfight control, the wombo combo, you can build a little bit of AP to also have a nice bit of damage in your kit. Great to play while you're learning the jungle because you don't have to think too much about his kit, and you know as soon as you pick someone off out of position where everyone's grouping together, you can basically annihilate the whole team. Nocturne's a little weaker than he used to be, still a flying pigeon if you're not fed, still deathly scary if he is fed. Lee Sin, very strong champion in capable hands, lower win rate because of his high skill cap and insanely high play rate, the people's most popular jungler. I don't recommend him unless you are I'd say you can play him whenever you like, but if you're struggling to climb out of silver and gold playing Lee Sin, the reason is because you're playing Lee Sin. Play something else, learn more about the game, and when you get to Plat, Diamond, and you're really starting to understand the jungle and understand how to pressure angles and things like that, then you can really hone your Lee Sin skills. Warwick, he had a very meaningful 2 AD buff to compensate the Tiamat nerf. You might see some more changes in January, so keep an eye on that. He is your sort of second-rate Jax at the moment. They sort of flip switches. If you like one, you'll like the other. Mixed damage play styles, easy to pick up, easy to play, lots of room to master some certain mechanics that can differentiate you from the regular players of these champions. Just remember, the later the game goes, the more grouped the enemy team is, the more difficult it is for you to do what you need to do to win. So make sure you're exerting pressure and not AFK farming. And now to close, we're going to look at some strong and viable alternatives if none of those previous 18 choices suit you. These ones on this page don't have the best win rates, they don't have super high play rates, but they fulfill a specific niche or accessibility that you can use to win a few games, even if you're not a jungle main. If you're a low MMR and you like Camille's playstyle, I can recommend Vi as a similar thing. She has that fighter style and that lockdown ultimate. And if you build more damage and get ahead, it's basically a guaranteed kill. You can also be a bit more tanky if you are needed to be. Really great accessible champion, she can be really fun to play. I do recommend her for people learning the jungle role. And on that note, Jarvan, same thing, he was very strong for a while this year. Very easy kid to learn and to understand. Nice level 2 ganks, great ultimate, very similar playstyle. That's the kind of thing you're looking for in the mid to low MMRs where you want to carry those games. You don't need it to be flashy, you just need it to be effective. And then when you have changes to junglers around you, nerfs to runes and things like that, it can let other junglers rise up a little bit. Despite having an absolutely abysmal win rate since the rework, Nunu and Willem have seen a nice little boost to above the 50% across a few stat sites, but they're still supportive, they're still tanky, they just have very nice ganks if you can get the snowball rolling in the most literal and figurative sense. Don't build full AP unless you want to troll around, it's not as good as tank by any stretch of the imagination. But Amumu and Rammus are definitely better tank options if you want to win in solo queue. However, keep an eye on the Nunu and Willem's win rate as we go forward, it's at least in the positive direction. And finally, I want to talk about Twitch. Even though his win rate isn't that great, he can be a really annoying champion to deal with. Even though it's basically predicted he's going to level 2 gank you, you're still going to manage to get a kill because he's ranged, he's got that E-pull that people continually forget about, and you can repeat gank many times with his free camo at the early levels to get yourself ahead. He of course doesn't have the best clear, he doesn't have the best scuttle crab control, but against non-pressuring junglers and nice gankable lanes, well, it's pretty much a free ticket for you to get fed, and then there are very few things as strong as a hyper-fed Twitch who is able to run free in the late game. So that's a lot of junglers from marksmen, fighters, tanks, assassins, AD to AP, and as I always say, you need to find a champion that suits your particular playstyle that lets you win games. Don't focus on too complicated a champion, be honest where your mechanics lie, where your game knowledge lies, and that's your best bet to learn and improve as well as climb. Just remember, first and foremost, you shouldn't really be playing more than 2 to 3 champions in your ranked rotation at a time. You want to learn champions to their fullest in a variety of situations and get much better at them over time. If you keep switching it out, you're not going to let that happen. And most importantly, enjoy the champion you're playing and enjoy the learning process. Keep an eye on patch notes coming up in 9.1 and 9.2 on things like Sejuani that might alter this a little bit. She might definitely come back into the meta with those numbers changing, but hopefully this list will guide you at least in the first part of Season 9. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and comment if you enjoyed this video. Please consider joining on YouTube to become an official member with access to perks. Keep an eye on the Twitch channel for an upcoming stream or two. Please subscribe for new League of Legends videos coming soon. And as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.